Hello and welcome to this episode of Find Your Inner Flavor. I am your co-host, Becky Schoenig, along with my partner, Gregory Owens, over there. This is all about food is medicine concepts. We are the co-owners of SymBowl. We're located in Kirkwood, Chesterfield, and in St.Charles, Missouri. We like to bring on these educational components and talk about food as medicine or food as a lifestyle. We also want to thank Olivia's Naturals for being our sponsor for this episode as well. You're going to see her supplements up here on the table, but Think Eat Live is kind of taking over the territory right now. Thanks to Dan and Karen who are joining us today. And we're going to talk about sunflower as a protein, the Think Eat Live product, how it came to be developed, and how we use it also as well in our restaurants. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're
So
happy to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting. And it's exciting because we have all of these people out there that kind of started, many of them have been here all day long, listening in, chiming in, eating food, drinking kombucha drinks as well. But let's talk about you guys and how Think Eat Live kind of came to be. We heard your story at one of our doctor's dinners just the other evening, but let's backtrack and let's share that just a little bit more. So Karen, because it started with you.
Yeah, we both actually had some pretty significant health challenges we were facing, and we didn't, we were seeking out the advice of MDs who, for me, it was all intestinal. I had literally put on 3 sizes in about a year and a half, and I was feeling so fatigued. I could hardly function right. My brain wasn't working right, and I thought something is really, really wrong here. And doctor after doctor just told me that I was stressed. And I thought, well, I'm stressed now, but I really know there's something wrong with my body and we need to figure this out. And at the same time, Dan, is struggling with seasonal allergies that were so out of control. He was taking pills and shots and nose sprays, and doctors are saying, well, we could do surgery, but that probably won't help. Do you want to do it? And he's kind of like, this isn't working so well. And at the time, we happened to be living in San Diego, where we found a clinical nutritionist, Dr. Diana Fatayerji, who is as root cause as they come. And she said, you guys, it's what you're eating. You have got to get gluten out of your diets now. It's causing all kinds of inflammation in your system. They can't hear me.
What? Oh, they can't hear us outside.
Oh, that's okay. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going.
Nice.
Way to go, Mark.
All of a sudden, I looked and there's everybody is at the window,
Interrupt.
monkeys, and we're having sex in here or something. Or I don't know. It's that's how it.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Backtracking. How do you get back to information?
So you found the doctor in San Francisco?
San Diego.
Oh, San Diego.
And she just said, look, guys, all this food that you're eating is making you really sick. And it's causing inflammation in your system such that Dan can't fight off all these external allergens because his body's so inflamed. And my body was so inflamed that I was having gastrointestinal, issues and all the other things that we talked about. Right. And so that was the beginning of figuring out, that food was going to be our solution. But then you throw in a couple of other things, which is I have an allergy to nuts, and I also am a little bit hypoglycemic. So if I don't have, particularly at breakfast time, a meal that has the right balance of protein and healthy fat, and complex carbs and the right amount of them, then I'm just sick all day. And so you think about what's for breakfast. Most people's breakfast is just high carb, high sugar, and gluten. Mm-hmm. And if you're lucky, you can find a trail mix or something, to get some protein in there, but everything had almonds in it or, a nut that I couldn't have. So that began the journey for Dan, and I think I'll let you share, the story of how you kind of created it all.
Sure. So, and I think with our nutritionist, it wasn't just, she said, gluten, dairy, processed foods, it's just like a constant drip of irritation in your body. And before you know it, every cell in your body is irritated and screaming at you to change what you're eating. And so she said, get gluten out, get dairy out, get the processed foods out, and that will help your system calm down. But then we did that for a month, and I think she was just wanting to, get us started. But she goes, well, we were feeling better, and then she goes, but that's really not good enough. You're just taking out bad stuff.
Right.
You're not putting anything good that's going to nourish and heal and strengthen your body. And so that's when she said, look, every meal has to have a lot of protein, a lot of, healthy fats and fiber, and just a little bit of carbs. And so we're sitting there, okay, let's go have some eggs for breakfast. And we did that for a week and 2 weeks. And it's like, okay, how many days are we going to have eggs in a row?
And I was starved all the
And
time.
she was starved because it wasn't balanced with, the right fiber and healthy fat. It was just all protein. And so I started, we knew we liked pancakes, and I started looking, well, how can I get more protein in our pancakes? And I started putting sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds in it. And then we knew when we were eating the pancakes with sunflower seeds in them that we stayed full. Okay, well, that's really, we knew, you knew you're kind of going in the right direction. And then I said, well, how do we get more sunflower seeds in? So I started figuring out how we could actually, mill the seeds and just make the pancakes purely from sunflower seeds. And when we did that, we knew we were staying full for hours. We were feeling better. And then we showed it to our nutritionist. She goes, oh, my God, you've got to get this to all my patients. And so that was kind of the beginning.
That was the forefront of creating Think, Eat, Live.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's interesting. How many years ago was that?
I would say at least 15 years
Oh,
ago.
really?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was
Yeah.
15 years ago. You were there. When did you wind up in St. Louis?
We moved back to St. Louis. Our parents, both her fathers and my mom was getting older. We moved back in 2010, I believe. And we both took on, some corporate jobs when we moved back. But, we just, have always had this passion about, making a really healthy food that we knew wasn't available on the market. And so somewhere around 2012, I left my corporate job at Panera and, got kind of the railroad tracks laid. And then, maybe a year later, Karen left.
So you guys have been full force with this since basically 2012.
Yeah, I would say so.
And you're in what locations?
So we're in St. Louis primarily, which is where we wanted to start. Mainstream grocery, so Schnucks and Deerbergs and places like that. We're in a whole host of independent health and nutrition stores, some doctors' offices. And then we launched on the East Coast about maybe a year and a few months ago. So we're in a number of stores across the East Coast, and there are some chains, but mostly health and nutrition independent stores as well. And then we picked up, some food service as we went, and of course, SymBowl being our, our happiest place. So thanks to Lacey, who's sitting out there, she, I think, introduced Greg to sunflower.
Is that what?
Probably.
Oh, yes, it was.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
was Lacey.
Yeah.
Lacey has introduced
Lacey,
us to
Lacey,
a lot
Lacey.
of things
Yeah.
in the restaurant. Yeah. Yeah.
Other Lacey.
Lacey with an I, not Lacey with a Y.
Other Lacey. Too many Laces. No, and as a chef / consumer, I love it. It's versatile. It's super easy to work with. I feel somewhat better about it on a sustainable because it's sunflower, not almonds being probably the most common nut flour, which they've been getting a pretty bad rap here lately, deserved or not, I don't really know, but they do suck a lot of water.
They do.
Sunflowers are, well, hell, they're damn near a weed. I mean, they grow. They're pretty. Anybody that's had a
very
garden,
hardy.
they're pretty easy to grow.
Right.
Obviously, you have to grow the right type, but it's a much better feeling sort of ingredient to use. And since it was St. Patrick's Day yesterday, you could turn your bread green. Really easy.
Well, over the winter time, we did cookie classes.
We did cookie classes, yeah. Those were fun.
And because when you're so you guys have the prepackaged components that you can purchase at the grocery store, and then we use just the raw sunflower in our restaurant. And we've developed and created our own recipes with our brownies, our blondies, and our wraps. But there is a science to working with ingredients that aren't natural ingredients, like flour, like the regular flour,
like traditional
eggs, butter, all that kind of stuff. So you did some classes over the wintertime, which I think is unique and interesting because there is a different component to working with the product.
Yeah, and probably one thing, again, not to whatever, compliment you guys, it's super consistent. And maybe it's just because it's so easy to jump brand to brand on like almond flour, cashew flour, some of those things. It's just nice knowing that it's always going to kind of react the same way. Because, when you do with our alternatives, there's always that, how dry is this? How much fat is left in the, like almond meal? Different brands. You wouldn't think a little percentage, but it makes a huge difference when you're trying to recreate something over and over again, especially when, for us, it's not like we're doing it for the kids. Kids, who cares, but for the customers, they want the same thing each and every time they come in. Mostly we've been successful. For us, the number one use is the wraps. We make our, the tortilla wrap out of
delicious.
it. They're pretty tasty, but it was nice to be able to have that versatility, and then all the, the vitamins, the nutrients that come along with it, the protein.
So let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Like when we're
benefits.
talking about sunflower, what is the protein component? What are all of the other nutritional benefits to using sunflower?
Well, I think the one thing we learned with sunflower seeds, and there's probably like 60 different varieties you could pick from, and we've tested a lot of them to try to find the ones that would have the most nutrition and the most consistency. And we finally sourced a sunflower seed that has actually more protein than any other grain or nut, or it actually has 25% more protein than beef. And so you can get all your protein needs through, sunflower. And it's, roughly, close to like 30% protein. And you have, our goal was to make sure when we were making products from it that you could get a third of your protein for the day.
Wow. I didn't know that it was that. I don't think I knew that it was that high.
Yeah.
I love so my two favorite products that you guys offer is the Power Cookie. Is that what it is? The Power Bar Cookie?
So we have a Power Bar, and we also make cookies from it.
Yeah.
And they're both really good.
So that, and then, and I love the pancake component. Now, we use it for our wraps and the restaurant, all of our baked goods, and the chips are like the perfect
You guys
for me.
keep running out.
I know.
We do, and
yeah,
we're
I know.
trying to keep up with it because how we wound up discovering the chip is the wraps only have 1 day shelf life on them for the most part.
We like to use them the same day.
Yeah. And so we're like, but we don't want to throw them away. We got to find another use for them. So we crisped them up in the oven, and we were able to make them into this chip, which is a great, like for me, it's a perfect snack, a half an avocado and a bag of chips. You're getting your protein, you're getting your fats, just a little bit of carbs. It is, for me, one of my favorite. And it's also a suggested snack in our Restart program.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What's your favorite, Greg?
Wow.
You're doing all kinds of stuff with the family meals.
Yeah, we use it all over the place. They're in the dumplings and the chicken and dumpling.
Yeah.
All the baked goods, the wraps, the scones, the vegan scones that we're working on. Don't get any. Those aren't out yet. So, no, don't get too anxious. We use it everywhere. I mean, and it also has the side benefit of not being a nut, so then we avoid all the nut allergy issues. I like it. we buy
That's
it.
what we like to
buy
hear.
lots.
Well, we love working with it in the restaurant. It's also something unique and different when we're hiring on somebody who has experience working in restaurants when they come into our kitchens, it's kind of like everything that kind of goes out the back door,
Right.
because you're now working with different ingredients, and
There's no butter, there's no heavy cream, there's no flour, there's nothing.
yeah.
that they're
What
used
are
to.
your favorites? What are your favorites?
Well, I will say that the other day I came in, wanted some chips. It was right the opening day. And she goes,
No chips.
no chips. We're not done yet. So I love the wraps, but I took the wraps home to get Karen her emergency fix of chips. And I just baked them for 15 minutes
on that.
and there they go.
You guys have a whole cookbook, though, as well, don't you?
We have a lot of recipes. We haven't published the cookbook
Oh,
yet.
okay. I
but
thought that you
yeah.
had.
Yeah.
Do you have any new products on the forefront that you guys are going to be putting out there?
Well, I think what we've learned from the baking mixes, people love them, but there's a lot of people who would like to have them ready to go.
Yeah.
So I think our kind of next foray is, picking something like the SunPower bar, or SunPower cookie, or even, a power chip or something like that, where we could finish it and sell it where it's an easy grab and go.
Yeah. Greg was trying to help me because I'm trying to eat better because I don't.
Because she gets hangry.
Yeah.
Terribly so.
And I need to be eating at least breakfast in the morning, very similar circumstances. But I'm in the restaurant so quick, and then I'll go. And it's not anything unusual for me to go until 2:00 in the afternoon before I eat anything. And he made me a porridge out of it I'm not a huge coconut
I failed.
fan, but he made me a porridge using coconut milk and the sunflower, and that was basically it.
Put a little
wasn't
maple
it?
syrup in it.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. But we're going to try and test it in a couple of other ways, and I think that's the fun. And the fun in our kitchens is we're kind of like, you guys are you're a scientist, aren't you, or both of you?
Well,
We're trained scientists. We're both organizational psychologists, but we were trained
Oh my gosh,
to do
that's
research.
so bizarre and
so
crazy.
we're good at research and scientific method and testing. But yeah, we were in completely different realms when we came to this. So no food science background. No, we're not expert chefs. We're not social media people. We just have a passion around what we're doing.
So what was the biggest obstacle? I mean, because you got the pretty yellow packages, you got a broad line, you're in grocery stores, but obviously that didn't happen overnight. Because you guys pretty much bootstrapped this yourselves, correct?
We're self-funded still. And that currently is our biggest obstacle, because in order to grow more than incrementally, we just have to get funding in. But what I would say is, just backing way up to the beginning, I think, when I think about what Dan was doing to lay the groundwork, I mean, he literally looked all over the country to find a mill that could actually produce sunflower in the way that we needed it. So most of the mills in the country are designed to mill, other
Flour,
things like wheat and and they're not designed to do oil seeds and without turning them into mush. I mean, sun butter would have been the product that we could be producing if we went to any number of mills.
Sure.
So Dan worked really, really hard to come up with a process so that, which we have a patent pending on, so that we could create sunflower where we kept the healthy fat, so we didn't damage the oil.
So that's actually I guess I misunderstood. I thought you did extract some of that. No, it's
all
whole
in there.
sunflower.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And so,
Okay, so yeah.
we love that it is, because first of all, the processing is not what people might think. It's really, really very, very gentle, and what it means is we can keep all the macro and micronutrients of the sunflower seeds. And then since we're sourcing like the best nutrition seeds, you get all that. And I know some people would say, well, gosh, there's high fat in here. And we're like, yes, there is. It's healthy fat.
Right.
And we kept that like really intentionally, because what we could do is defat it and sell the flour
Which
without
is what
the
traditional, it's traditionally happens in corn and wheat and
Exactly,
all those things.
exactly. But we felt like it was really the right thing to do so that we could provide the right product. Because we've got the sunflower, but then every one of our baking mixes, we actually formulated so that you could have a perfect meal replacement. So you would get a third of your protein and fiber for the day. And the thing that keeps you full is having that healthy fat in there as well, and all the fiber from the seeds. And then, like you said, it's a flour that's usable. You get a moist baked good. Well, that's because we kept the oil in there and we didn't damage it in the processing. And so he did all of this work for, what was it, a 2-year process before we even were able to launch. Right. Just figuring out how do we get the perfect flour out of sunflower seeds.
That's the same story that we have in regards to our sauces. It is interesting when you start going down this rabbit hole of research and finding out how is your food actually made and produced and then sold on the grocery store shelves. And unless you're super integrity driven, there's lots of components that can be skipped and eliminated.
Right. Yeah.
And
because in tradition they would have said take out that oil because now you have a limited shelf life because you still have fat in it.
Although we get a 1.5-year shelf life on our products.
Which is great, yeah. That's...
But I guess we could have, 3 years if we took the fat out?
You could basically have unlimited, essentially, because that was a big...
Yeah.
I can remember there was a study, I can't remember when it was, years ago, but it was a major issue in Latin American cultures because so much of their traditional corn had been milled the way you guys are talking about milling yours, but then they started taking out the germ, the oil, and all of a sudden people weren't getting all those nutrients that were found in the natural fat.
That's right.
And so when we see it today with all the, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, iron, and what else is added? Is it just those 4 that's added? Fortified?
Right.
Yeah, fortified. Because they've taken all what should already be in there.
Right.
Plus other stuff that gets removed too, just to make it more stable, just to make it a little prettier, a little, finer, and maybe not quite inconsistent on color. And that's something that people have no clue.
Right.
Right.
So, see, now I like it even more because it's a whole food.
Because now you're going to go make yourself.
It's a whole real...
It is a whole
item,
food.
And that's so hard to find nowadays.
Right. Yeah. And I think what's happened, with the larger, food manufacturing companies, it's like cost is first and, how do we move as much product?
Right.
And all those being their top goals drive it into an inexpensive food that's now it's been harming us for years.
Right.
And we're all just learning what the slow, negative impact of foods that aren't whole.
Well, because our food habits were grown out of people who ate whole food.
Right.
Well, then all of a sudden, we didn't. I don't think people even realized that stuff was being taken away from them by, basically, I guess, food industrial.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
How would they know?
You
Why
wouldn't.
would they even assume that?
So
it was
you're still
taken away?
eating with the assumption that you're eating the same food, but you're really not.
Right.
And then, you develop inflammation. You develop all the different things that customers come to us dealing with, and a lot of it is food-based.
Yeah. Well, and then you have the government who not only is subsidizing the cheaper way of doing everything with, many crops, but they're also telling people, back when, fat is bad, low fat.
Right.
And so people are flocking to diets that are going to set them up for, a much
Absolute
worse
failure.
situation long haul. And I think even today, my belief is that, what's being shared by the government is not what is a healthy diet. And we're a long ways away from a general understanding of what's needed. But, our mission is to at least be a little bit a part of that change and, help educate people.
It's fun working with, it's fun when you can find people that are kind of on the same mission. Now, Greg and I don't come from a story in regards to our own health issues as to why we're creating SymBowl. We created SymBowl in the realm of food as medicine and creating the products that we're creating because we saw such a need for it. Those were the customers walking in our doors and saying, we need this. we need this, and we listen to them. And I think that that's the voice that we're all kind of looking for, is more those people that are saying, we need this, we value this, we want to know where it's coming from, we want to know how it's produced, we want to know, the quality in which it is. And we're the little guys.
Yeah.
We're the little guys with no money, no budget.
You're bringing them all together.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
It really is good.
Yeah. If we say it all the time. If we just shut our doors and reopen the next day with burgers and fried chicken, we'd be like raking in the money.
Great.
But I don't think it's as much. I think we, those that are doing this, there is a challenge in regards to, there's an adventure to it. That's part of why we enjoy doing it. Right. Being on the forefront and being the creators and the developers. Hopefully in the next 10 to 15 years, it'll be a completely different story, and people will be going, ooh, thanks to Thinky Live and thanks to SymBowl and Find Your Inner Flavor, we were able to do this much more easily.
Right.
But we'll see. Who knows?
I'm confident.
Yeah, I know.
So 15 years ago, you started, you got it milled, and now what's next? Ramping up production?
Are you guys retailing online? Have you thought about retailing online?
So we have an online store.
Okay.
It's not something we've put any energy or money or effort behind. So, mainly what happened was our nutritionist in San Diego said, I need my patients to have access to your stuff. And so everybody who was ordering from our online store for the first year we were open was from San Diego. And now we do actually have, customers across the country. We're not always sure how they're hearing about us. We actually have a fair number of people just in St. Louis who don't want to have to go, shopping to different stores to get the whole product line or whatever it is. But we have not put a significant marketing effort behind it. And I think we're realizing that that's something we would like to do, because there are people who are trying to find us and find what we're doing. And we just need to help them find us. Right. And it's an easier way to educate and to be able to communicate what we're all about.
Right.
Yeah, I think one day we'd like to see anything that was conventionally made of flour being made of sunflower, because all of a sudden you could eat all the things you enjoyed, whether it was Wheaties or chips or bread, and still enjoy it, but now you're getting your protein, and it's not raising your blood sugar, and it's not, contributing to health problems, it's helping you live longer. So, we'll build our own brand, but, we also look for partners, whether they're, like great, food service, groups like yourself.
So do you think that's more of the direction you want to go, is in the educational component and possibly partnering with a big production, somebody who is making a lot of things that are being used through flour and trying to move them in this direction?
That would be the way we could reach millions of people.
Sure.
And so, that's on our plan, and it's finding the right partners who have the passion for it, so it doesn't get, commoditized and turned into something that's just like the old food that we ate.
Right. You guys are, that is the component with all of this, is it comes down to education. If you don't know what it is and how it works and why what you're eating isn't serving you or fulfilling you, and then, these are the things. So education is the forefront of where this whole food philosophy comes from. What are you thinking about? Do you have anything in the forefront for what we're going to use the product for in the restaurants? The fish. Have you guys had our fish fry?
we use it at breading too.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's so good.
I remember you doing that last year, and we had it. Unfortunately, I'm allergic to cod, so I couldn't have it this year.
We used colic last year.
But yeah, you did, and it was delicious.
So
No, we just keep continuing to.
the biscuits, you've made the biscuits,
the biscuits
and those
work well.
are really good.
Egg-free, dairy-free, high protein biscuit. Those turned out pretty well. We've used those. I'm trying to think nothing else. Trying to figure out a way to mass produce the damn wraps and chips.
Yeah, that's the big thing that we want to be able to do next.
Yeah.
Because we can't keep up on
Well, it would almost be a dedicated staff member at this point.
Yeah.
Which is kind of silly.
You are the chip person.
I keep thinking of like, there's it's just, I haven't devoted enough time to it. I mean, it's not too dissimilar from a tortilla or a crepe or anything else. There's machinery out there that could help facilitate it. Just
Yeah,
getting
that one
there.
A
that
few kudos to Carrie. She has done an amazing job with the wraps when we've been in and she's been in charge.
that location, we joke around about our Chesterfield location. When we went to go duplicate in Chesterfield, we wanted to make sure that we were as hands off as possible in that location. And Carrie has been a huge component and reason why we've been able to be hands off. She's also been really spoiled for almost 2 years now, with literally literally little to no drama, staffed fairly well, and now all of a sudden it's like a little bit in upheaval. And she was in tears the other day because we've lost some employees and everybody's just kind of in this mode. But I'm like going, hey, kudos. And the restaurant industry, you made it almost 2 years without any of this stuff. So that's
2
pretty
months
good.
is more than normal.
Okay, so let's go ahead and kind of wrap this up. Where can people purchase your sunflower currently? You mentioned it earlier, but let's go ahead and mention it one more time.
Well, it's like the web address and all that.
Okay, so our web address is thinkeatlive.com. And the sunflower, people in St. Louis tend to get it at Schnucks. And we also have it in a number of independent stores, and so you can find all that on our website.
And you can come into SymBowl.
Of
And
course.
it's all over on our menu.
Yeah.
We go to SymBowl and say we'd like some wraps and chips, please, because we're the cobbler's kids.
And Dan, what were you going to say?
Oh, yeah, and Deerbergs. You can
Deerbergs, you can buy the mix.
Yeah.
And Schnucks carry some of the mixes as well. but
And you
can
guys are
also buy those.
oftentimes in those locations sampling out
Yes.
as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fun. I'm thankful that you guys were able to join us today on
Thank
this
you.
podcast. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to say thank you to the Gaslight for creating such a creative space for us to come into. Matt with Media Outlaws, who keeps us on track, and behind the scenes in regards to our video production side. Mark, who tries to keep us quiet and make sure that our voices are heard. Everybody that joined us today at Gaslight, who came to network, connect. This was a fun and exciting experience. I think we're going to do some more of this in the future. Blue Kombucha for contributing to the drink side of things in here today. Olivia's Naturals for sponsoring this podcast. And again, this is all about our Find Your Inner Flavor on Indiegogo. We are trying to raise the funds in the capital to be able to create our autoimmune protocol sauces to be shelf stable. As you have heard in these 3 episodes, creating and producing these types of foods to launch out into the marketplace is not always easy. Buoyant, Float, Soul Sweat, and SymBowl have all donated a gift package. So if you go on and contribute something today, you're going to be put into the drawing as a winner of that fabulous package. We're going to sign out, and we will see you the next time.
Thanks, all.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Are we de-Facebooking? Oh, goodbye, Facebook.